Shut up and sit down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the fourth episode of SHiFT. I'm one of your hosts, Matt, and with me, as always, is our other host, Eric. Eric, how the hell you been this week?
Oh, doing great. This week, as per usual, I've been playing some Battleborn, getting in a lot of matches, actually, with Pendles, mostly against him. I've played him a few times myself, but he wasn't my jam. Mm-hmm. Besides that, I've been getting back in the groove in another game I play, World of Warcraft, and we've been prepping for my daughter's upcoming birthday, so nice. Putting together all sorts of little goodie bags and figuring out what foods we need, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's me. What about you, buddy?
Well, all this week, I've been in South Dakota, so I haven't been playing anything. But it has been amazing seeing all the sights. Mount Rushmore, drove out to Devil's Tower, Badlands National Park. It's just been amazing. So that's this week for us, and pulling back the curtain a little bit here for you, we're recording a day early because our usual recording day, Thursday, is a travel day for me. So I'm going to let Eric go ahead and fill you in on what happened this week in Gearbox, and I'll be back for the topics.
To start things off, there were a couple SHiFT codes released, one being for Borderlands the pre-sequel, and the other being an epic loot pack in Battleborn. If you haven't got those already, check out our show notes below, and you can pick those up. Secondly, I wanted to go ahead and make note that on PC only, August 13th, the Gears of Battle will be hosting a Battleborn competition. There'll be 3 parts to this thing, and Gearbox themselves will be offering SHiFT codes for epic loot packs as rewards, and accumulating in a third tournament where $300 will be given away to the winners. Anyone's free to enter playing on the PC. You must have a full team. If you want any other details, please go to the link below in our show notes and check that out. In the Battleplan this week, they went ahead and posted a couple nerfs to Melka. It was our base health and some damage, if I'm not mistaken. If you want some more info on that, please check out the Battleplan. And lastly, this weekend, starting August 5th, is a double XP weekend. So make sure you guys pop in Battleborn and get ready to level your Pendles up. Hope to see you guys there. And that'll wrap it up for this week at Gearbox.
What are we talking about this week?
Well, Matt, I was thinking this week we would go ahead and discuss Pendles, obviously. Mm-hmm. We've had a full week to play with them, and upcoming players that don't have the Season Pass or the Digital Deluxe Edition will finally get their hands on them.
Yep.
So I figured we'd talk about our matches with him and against him and what we think overall and his place in the Battleborn world. Every night, basically, I've been on and playing, like I stated earlier, mm-hmm. and I've been playing against Pendles pretty much every match, guaranteed. Mm-hmm. And after playing with him against Phoebe, Orendi, and Alani, I can say that Alani I had the most trouble with dealing with Pendles, and I would have had the least difficulty with Phoebe. I know that a lot of people have been stating in the forums, either one way or the other, whether he's overpowered or underpowered, but based off what I've done, I can state that I think he's perfect where he's at. He comes in, he sneaks around, he gets behind you, he poisons you, he comes in and does some hits, but you have ample time because he doesn't hit that hard to either get away or turn around and engage him. And especially with Phoebe, I found that no matter when he engaged me, I had no problem turning around and going one-on-one with him and usually could win that fight. And even if it was looking like I couldn't, I could always phase gate out. So no problems there. And with Orendi, obviously she got that change to her Helix where she can use Shadow Fire Pillar and it reveals enemies all around her no matter where she is. Mm-hmm. And that's helpful against Pendles, but to be truthful, I didn't really think it was that big of a deal either way, because simply put, whenever he would come and engage me, I would just nullify, back off, and decide whether or not to go after him or just get the heck out of Dodge, find the group and or the sentry to protect me. Alani was where I was having some issues because unless I chose her Riptide with the follow option, when he got a hold of me, it was just me healing and backing off, trying to find the group again, or sentry if I was in incursion. But if I couldn't do that, I was pretty much in a bad place because I couldn't out-damage him. And I don't know if that's just me as a player or if, he is just more DPS than she is. I'm not quite sure, but I did have trouble.
So for someone who hates Alanis, maybe you should be Pendles, and then you can kill her a lot, is basically what you're saying.
There you go.
So I'm going to be Pendles forever, all the time.
Go ahead, except for we already have a team member who chooses Pendles every time, so you're out of luck, buddy.
Not if I pick him first.
Yeah, delete all your loadouts so you get in there faster, right?
Oh, that was a low blow.
So before we talk about it a little bit more, how were your couple days you did have playing against and with Pendles?
Yeah, I think in the couple days before I went on vacation, I was able to play one actual versus match with him, and like you said, mostly been playing against him, guaranteed all the time for the matches I did play. And I'm pretty much right with you. When we first saw his helix, his abilities and all that stuff, I was thinking he had a chance to be overpowered because, you see that you can throw lifesteal on like 2 of his different things. He can up his damage here and there. He can, basically he can upgrade everything. And it sounds on paper like he would be totally OP, but in practice, he doesn't seem to do enough burst damage to really be overpowered. I mean, if you have like no health and you're trying to run back to the base and he catches you, I mean, that's basically how you're supposed to play him anyway. So I think he's pretty much perfect, give or take, a couple little minor tweaks here and there on a couple things that I'm not a super expert at. But I think he's just perfect right where he is. Because anytime I've been anything more than like a quarter health and he gets on me, I can usually find a way to get out of it, or get back to the sentry, or get back under turret range. The only issue, not really issue, that I have with him is when an enemy Pendles just obviously cloaks right off the bat, and then just comes and sits in your base behind the sentry. I guess it's not really a bad thing because he does nothing the whole time he's back there, but like the one time you're running back with a little health, or the sentry's getting damaged and he can just pop in and just do all that damage. Or, take down your sentry gun or your supply station and then just poof vanish, and then you have nothing you can do about it. You can't really displace him unless you're one of those characters that can see him while he's cloaked. I mean, it's not a big deal overall because I don't think that affects the outcome of matches, but it's just something that's really frickin' annoying. Maybe if he gets damaged by a turret, or he's in like a turret's range, or I wouldn't say line of sight, but in like a little
within
bubble around it. Maybe he'd get revealed or something.
Yeah, I did find that quite a bit, where some Pendles would go back, like you said, to your base, and they would destroy any turrets, any accelerators, anything you got going on. And this was Meltdown as well.
They'd steal your shards if they could.
And keep it locked down. And then, like you said, if you're retreating, they would try to pick you off. I respect that, but like you said, it was troublesome if you couldn't spot him, because then you knew he's back there, and there's nothing you could do. So basically, a strategy at that point was build no turrets, build no accelerators, move forward, rely upon getting on your sentry, and if you're in Meltdown, you're just out of luck. You rely on going to your health globe and hope he's not there. So, yeah, I did see that a little bit, but I think for the most part, people were playing him pretty fair. They do what they're supposed to, which is go back, pop off those turrets, get rid of those accelerators, pick you off if you're not with a group, and generally just cause a lot of chaos. And also to what you were talking about, down the left side of his helix there, it's all about survivability, and then on the right side, it's all about the damage. And you can do a hybrid of one and the other, which would basically put you, of course, middle ground. And I do find that if you go full right, you are a force to be reckoned with in the damage department. However, once again, if you're a character like, say, Phoebe, you can just turn around and just wreck Pendles. So it's definitely a trade-off, and vice versa, obviously. If he goes down the left side, he's getting all that life still, that health back, etc. But like you said, he's got no burst damage, so you have plenty of time to disengage, even if he starts to edge out in the battle. So I really find that it's pretty fair, as long as you keep your head about you when he pops in on you, and don't panic.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they did a good job of balancing his damage and survivability, like you said, because he can not do great burst damage, but he can't take a lot either. You have to utilize him in a certain way in certain situations, which I think is awesome. He can't just be, he's just, the tank. He's just the damage guy. You have to sneak, you have to pick your spots, You got to pick your poison.
That was a good one.
But yeah, he's one of those kind of complex characters where you have to understand him, understand how to use him and where to use him, and then do that effectively. I almost never saw that in the few matches I played. I'm sure people are going to get better with him and everything, but it's just, just one of those complex characters that I really like to see.
On that note, do you think he fits in with the other rogue characters, especially D&D and Shane and Oryx?
I'd say he fits in well with them. Well, do you mean like just gameplay-wise? Or?
And what I mean as in stealth, like a stealth character. Does he fit in well as the third real stealth character in the game?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think he does. He's so pure stealth. Everyone else has momentary stealth. Oscar Mike has his shield generator. Shane and Oryx can go invis for a little bit. D&D can pop or clone and then be invisible for, like I said, another little bit. But he's the first like pure stealth character where that's his MO. That's what you have to do with him. That's how he plays. And so I think as that kind of character, I think he's amazing.
I would have to agree with you. The little contention was that he's a real stealth character, while the others seem to be just a perk, is that they get to go stealth. But because of his lack of burst and the ability to get away from him, whereas if a D&D comes at you full throttle, or a Shane and Oryx, they can wreck your house.
Yep.
And he just, in my opinion, can't. And maybe I haven't gone against somebody who is amazing with him yet. I've seen some videos of them doing really well, but myself, I haven't seen it yet, and quite frankly, I like where it is, so hopefully I have seen the gamut, and we don't come across some people who are just insanely untouchable with Pendles.
Eric, that's going to happen as soon as I get back. First game we play, it's going to be Pendles 100-0 and 78, and we're just going to get wrecked. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it will happen. Yeah, once we get our 4 or 5-man group back together and they start pitting us against the elite again, that's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well, tying into how we feel about Pendles and whatnot, I was also going to bring up today, in the future, who would we like to see? What kind of character class and or archetype would we like to be brought into Battleborn? Now, this can be a new archetype we haven't seen, or maybe some additions to current archetypes that would improve the gameplay and or make more interesting encounters. I've had a little bit of time to think about it, so I guess I'll go ahead and start by saying I like Galt's whole setup. I love how he's at the shotgun, he's got the traps going, and you want to go ahead and draw people with the hook into the traps and then shotgun them in the face. I think it's a pretty cool concept, and I was going to take that a step further and say we should really get some character classes out there that are more utility, like they can lay down traps sort of like Galt's, but maybe more expansive, that would encompass entire tunnels, and then back out. And then also have maybe like side shields for other characters, so if a character's in an engagement, he can put a shield on said character, or maybe make a bubble where once in, the enemy player can't escape for 15 seconds. Just something like that. I think we need a new character type that just focuses on standing back and helping the team out by using shields, traps, other weird mechanisms, such stuff like that. I think that would be pretty freaking cool.
Now, you'll have to support me on this, but I just want to lay out to everyone out there who's listening that you brought this topic up to me like 15 minutes ago and said, this is what we're going to be talking about, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, well, that is the exact character type I was thinking of. I was going kind of based off Pendles, where he has that one role. He's your sneaky poo assassin guy. And I was thinking, well, there are so many other characters that we have already, even the healers who can go and spec into like super damage and like be wreck and shop all over the place. Like the times I go 16-2 with Reyna and I'm just destroying everybody. But I think it would be awesome to just have one character who is just a buffer, a debuffer, a status effect person, where they're not throwing out any kind of, major damage. Maybe their only attack is just to push you away from them, or, like Arendi's Nullify, just you hit it and it backs you out. But then your abilities are, you throw in a slow bubble, a stun bubble, a speed up bubble, something like that. Just area control and, like I said, buffs and debuffs. That kind of character, I think, where the status effects are the main point of them being there. Where even if they don't even do any damage, but they just last a long time and take up, not a huge chunk, but a big part of the battlefield where they can actually affect engagements. If you're going after the sentry and you throw your bubbles back there and they can't come up to defend it, that kind of stuff, where you're not going to get 16 kills as someone who is typically supposed to be a support. You're going to be a pure support. You're back there throwing out, like I said, buffs, debuffs, heals, speed up, speed down, all that kind of stuff. I think that would be amazing.
Yep, glad we agree as per usual. Another class of character I was thinking would be actually really nice is a Berserker type class character. Someone who is a glass house but can get in close range and just wreck shop. We kind of have that in some characters, but I'd like to see maybe someone wielding, your traditional giant sword, and you just go in and you just start going to town. But the minute they lay damage on you, you're going to be toast. So it's very important at that point that you take and think before you jump into the middle of a battle, or you have a pocket healer, or maybe utilize this new class that we're thinking of here and get some kind of shield bubbles on you, stuff like that. I think that'd also be kind of fun to see some more melee, berserker, heavy type class character.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that and kind of don't, because like you said, we do basically have characters that are like that, except maybe you just want them dialed up to 11, where it's just all damage, no health. Because like even Atticus, they just buffed up his health, and he's a go in and throw damage on you kind of guy, but he can be sort of tanky-ish too.
Yeah, he can survive an engagement. I want a character who has to, once again, make hard decisions on whether is it worth me jumping in, getting these 3-4 kills, or is it a bad situation where they know I'm going to come, they're going to kill me as soon as I land, and I'm going to do nothing. Or, so then at that point, say you're on Incursion, you can be like, well, I'll go do the bots, get the bots down instead, because right now they see me standing here in the corner waiting to hop in, and they've got an Oscar Mike with his sights trained on me, ready to start laying down some heavy fire. Something like that.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Like I said, I think the only thing would be that we kind of almost have that partially. I don't see that being like a big thing that everybody wants.
Well, was there anything else that you think would be useful in this universe?
I've been thinking about it since you mentioned it, and they have most of, I'm thinking back to my League of Legends days, because they have very specialized characters and, they fit very definite roles. There's not really any other kind of role I can think of that I would really want. We have good healers, we have good DPS, we've got a sneaky poo assassin now, we have long range, we got melee, we've got tanks, and we've got hybrids of all that. So I think there's not really anything else I can think of that needs to be in there, and I'm sure the new characters that are coming will be hybrids or new playstyles that I haven't even thought of and you haven't thought of. But for now, I think it's generally balanced pretty well. I don't think anything's missing. I think it's just team combinations now and how well they work with each other.
Well, speaking of team combinations, I think a big reason they probably have not put in some kind of utility-based character like that is because currently, and as we've said before and others, you don't know what the enemy's picking.
Yeah.
And that would just wreck the game, in my opinion, if there was a utility-based character and we didn't know that they'd picked that, and so we didn't defend against it, and then all of a sudden, oh, hey, look, there she is. Oh, we have no counter to her. They're going to go ahead and run this map on us. So I think for that type of character to exist, we would probably need to be able to see what the team composition is on the opposing side prior to that coming in.
Which is definitely something you and I have talked about for a long time. We'd love to be able to see, just even if it's not, ordered and, Team A gets first pick, Team B gets second pick, and then, trade back and forth. If you can at least see who's going to be over there and counter it, like, oh, gee, they're going to have a Pendles, which is pretty much guaranteed right now, but we better have our stealth detection person. We better have somebody who can see him, who can find out where he's at. And this brings up another thing that, the seeing the team choice thing. Danny was talking to me a while back, our social media person, and she said it might be a good idea to even have it be like, and you might have to do this in like a quote fingers, competitive queue or something, but if you're seeing each other's characters, maybe in that match there are unique characters. So if Team A picks a Wrath, Team B doesn't get to pick Wrath. If we're going up against that team of 500s who are going to smash us, and Brian picks Wrath and you pick D'Andy or, whoever, that's who they were going to pick. Now they have to play with their lesser characters, and it could be more even.
The problem with that, I think, is that you'd be limiting people on picking their character, not only on a one-side scale as it is now, but then on the other side too. So now you've got multiple tunes getting picked, quickly, that the other team now can't use. I don't know. I think people might get upset and balk at the fact that they can't use their favorite character because the opposing team has it. But I understand where you're coming from in that it'd be difficult to figure out a way to do it legitly, except for you pick one, you pick one, you pick one. Because if you're just playing on a pug, and one guy picks this guy, and you need a counter, but say you picked first, well, now you're just hoping and praying that the pugs that you're with decide to pick someone who can counter that individual. Otherwise, it's a loss, or maybe not a loss. I shouldn't go that far, but you're at a disadvantage. And then you're going to get what already happens is people going, "Oh, this is over. I'm just disconnecting."
Yeah. As soon as you started to say that, I was thinking, well, if player X doesn't get his certain character, he's just going to leave or give up. They have a lot more quitters, a lot more disconnects. But at the same time, I think part of the beauty of this game is playing all the different characters and figuring out who fits your fancy instead of just sticking with one single character. So if you had a system like this and somebody picked Reyna and somebody picked Oscar Mike and somebody picked El Dragon, well, I'm going to have to learn how to play Benedict well, or, I'm going to try out D'Andy because we need a stealth-ish character, and, that's who I feel most comfortable with. I think it would encourage a lot more experimentation and a lot less of just, I'm just going to play Wrath, and I'm just going to play Wrath. And if somebody picks Wrath, I'm going to go away.
Yeah, I hear that. Diversity, as we always say, is the spice of life.
Right.
Well, I guess we should leave this to the listeners. What do you guys think? Should there be visibility on the other end so you know what you're coming up against? Should it be
There should, yes.
1 and 1 and 1 and 1? Should it just be a free-for-all until the timer goes down to nothing? Let us know what you think, because we're interested to see what the community wants to do with that. Because I do think overall something needs to change a little bit, especially because, as I said, it'll allow us to diversify and make even more unique characters to go up against in the future.
Yep, definitely. And speaking of feedback, it's time to dip into the mailbag. I got our 2 random questions from Facebook, Twitter, from any place else. Let me see. We've got a question from James on Facebook. He asks, who is your favorite Gearbox character, and which Hollywood actor would you like to see cosplay that favorite character?
Good question. Well, my favorite character would have to be Tiny Tina, but she's perfect the way she is. I don't think anybody could do her justice. What immediately pops in my head, though, is Roland being played by Idris Elba. An actor, if you're not familiar with him, is currently in the newest Star Trek, and he also plays one of the commanders in Pacific Rim. I think he'd make a great Roland. So, yeah, I think that, or maybe even Krieg being Dwayne Johnson. That might be humorous. Who knows? But, yeah, a good question.
As soon as I saw this question and put it in the mailbag, there's one character that jumped out to mind, and that is Mr. Torg. And there's only one person in Hollywood or the actor sphere right now that has both the physique and the charisma to carry that off, and that's Terry Crews. I mean, sure, he's not going to look the same as Mr. Torg for obvious reasons, but who better to be a muscled up, screaming, pumped up guy? He'd be the Old Spice guy again, but with crazy hair and, explodey stuff. It'd be awesome.
Your face is gonna look awesome on radio!
That's something definitely I'd like to hear listeners what they think, who their favorite characters are, and who their Hollywood counterparts would be. But I do agree that your pick for Torg was amazing and would be awesome. So, all right, guys, that's our 2 questions.
That's not the 2 questions.
No, it's not our 2 questions. Son of a bitch.
So our second question today comes from Danny, our social media person again. She asks, do you think there should be a penalty for people who rage quit and or surrender a match?
I for sure do. We've kind of already harped on this a little bit, but I think that anyone who picks the surrender should be heavily taxed in their points at the end of when the match ends, obviously, because I cannot tell you how many times we go into a match, they get 2 or 3 hits, say on the incursion, so the sentry gets hit once or twice, and they're pushing us, and it doesn't look great, and all of a sudden surrender, it's over. We didn't try. It just, oh, hey, this ain't going our way immediately. I just give up. I despise that, and I feel that people who vote to do that should just, you get nothing. You walk away from that match, fine, nothing. You get nothing, but anybody who didn't choose that at least gets, the minimum 300 or whatever it is credits.
Yeah, I could kind of see it either way, because there are some matches that, we're just getting stomped, and there's no point in continuing anymore. Like we said, we're not really entirely sure how the rewards are weighted, where they come from, but I think it should be weighted based on how much of the match you've completed. Like if you voted for surrender as soon as you were able to, you should get way diminished rewards. Versus if you're going through this grueling frickin' match and it's just not going your way and they're just sitting there toying with you and you surrender, with 5-10 minutes left of the match, then I think you should get more reward than if you surrendered right off the bat.
Well, they tried to control it already, didn't they? They've got a timer before surrender even becomes available.
Right.
And then if it fails, you have to wait another amount of time before you get a second chance. I just don't think it's quite enough because, as I said, when you first get going, by the time you're engaged in the middle, by the time someone makes a push one way or the other, that timer's available. So at that moment, you can just give up if it doesn't look like it's going your way.
True. The more interesting part of the question that Danny asked is, for people who just rage quit or just AFK in the base, well, if you get disconnected from a match, because I have honestly gotten disconnected from one, and you try to jump back in, it says, hey, your match is still available, do you want to try and join it again? But I think you should have no choice but to join it for the duration of that match, whatever it is. And if you are a frequent leaver, like they should maybe add that for one of the reporting options, just quit or disconnected, because there's the frequently idle, but you can kind of get around that by saying, oh, my connection's not that great, or I had a pizza man at the door or whatever. But if you regularly leave games early and don't go back into them to finish them, you got to have some kind of ban. 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I don't know how long they would want it to be because I don't know the metrics on how often this happens. But I think if you're a frequent leaver, if you're someone who does that all the time, you need to be punished on an account-wide basis.
I agree. I'm all about harsh and swift punishment. So anybody who disconnects on purpose, doesn't come back to the match, anybody who's rage quitting or standing idle at the base should receive no points. And then to boot, as you said, if it happens often, have some sort of penalization in-game as well. Maybe take credits, which would enrage people. There's the usual, which is suspend the account for 3 days. But I don't know, something that'd be up to Gearbox really. But something should happen to them. Yeah,
there's basically no punishment that wouldn't enrage people. But every other MOBA has systems like this, where if you are a troll, if you're abusive, if you DC all the time, if you just AFK in the base and you get enough reports, well, generally, and I hope this is the case, you're going to get penalized for it. This is kind of a MOBA that needs to happen here too.
Yes, sir. It sure does. All right, gents and ladies, that's going to wrap it up for us this week. We'd love to thank all of you for tuning in. It's just been fantastic. These last few episodes we've done, we've gotten to see people from all over the world checking us out, and that's just a super humbling experience. I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm excited to keep doing these. It's just awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely blown up way bigger and faster than either of us thought it ever would for months and months down the road. You and I were talking, before this last big surge and saying, well, if we still had just like 10 people listening every week, it would be amazing. But the numbers are way bigger than that. So we definitely want to thank you guys. We appreciate it. We appreciate the love.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Also, just want to say we'd love to get some feedback from you guys, whether it be on topic, whether it be questions for us. Just go ahead and get a hold of us via anything we're on, Facebook, all that stuff. Matt will go ahead and give it to you.
Because you will screw it up. That's right. You can find us, as always, on the web at THiRDShift.me. You can email us. That's info@THiRDShift.me. We're on Facebook under Third Shift. We're on Twitter at ThirdShiftMe. That's ThirdShiftME. We're on Reddit. We're on Tumblr. We're on Instagram. We're on Vine. We're on YouTube. We're freaking everywhere. You can find the podcast on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Podomatic, where we've always been. You can hit it up on the website. We upload to YouTube as well. So anywhere you want to find us, you can find us.
All right. Until next time, ladies and gents, don't forget to save.
Shut up and sit down.